What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Snap on Ego. My name is Brad, otherwise known as Bradsford, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris, Bootman Bootay. Another 2 weeks have gone. They've come and gone, whatever you want to say. We're here again, and this time we have a massive leaked OTA to talk about, and some new cards, and just the state of Snap in general. So, hello, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm laughing because you have no concept of time. It's been 3 weeks, Brad. It's been 3 weeks. Cool. Since we were last year.
Well,
but anyway, last week was the...
Hey, hold on, time out.
Yeah.
Technically, 2 weeks have come and gone.
Technically. We got Mr.
So
Technical.
I'm correct.
Well, actually... But yeah, last week was Marvel Rivals week, so I was like, yo, we gotta bump this. Did you end up playing any Marvel Rivals?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Today released X Defiant or Defiance. It's either Defiant or Defiance. It's a Ubisoft shooter that just came out. It's free to play. Familiar. It's another FPS hero shooter with 4 different categories, and then like you unlock the people within those categories, like DPS, healer, tank, whatever. And but it's like CSGO is how the gunplay kind of feels. I tried it out today. I played a few games. It's free, just released. It's interesting. It's just another Overwatch type of thing, just like Marvel's. It's I don't know. You have a payload. You have like capture points and stuff like that, and that kind of objective. I don't know. I'm vaguely interested. It's fun. I don't know if it's gonna have like longevity. The gunplay feels weird to me in that one, but like I had to mess around with my sensitivity a lot. Like I had to crank that shit up all the way.
Oh, really?
It was like 60 horizontal, 45 vertical is like what I'm doing right now.
Oh, that sounds like insanely high to me.
The default was like 25 and 25. I'm like, this is molasses.
Like on PC, like my sensitivity is like 1.5, 1.3, something like that.
I always play with high sensitivity on console. I want to be able to flick. I'm used to it. But yeah, like it's cool. But I played a little bit of Rivals. I couldn't get enough playtime into it. So what did you think overall with it?
I really like it. Like I'm not that great at it. I'm just like I'm a 38-year-old man, and I'm just like my reflexes are not going to be what they used to be, But like I'm a simple man, Brad. I'm a simple man. You slap Marvel characters in something, I'm good. I'm all right. You know what I mean? But anyways, the game is really fun. Like basically, if you like Overwatch and you like Marvel, you're gonna love this game.
Right?
It was the number one comment I kept hearing was just how insanely polished it was for an alpha, which it was. Yeah. Like it was just like they could release the thing tomorrow. Like the number one issue, like you would think it'd be like bugs or crashes or whatever. Number one issue is just balance, and it's like minor balance things, like very minor. It's like, hey, turn Hela's damage down just a little, maybe crank this alt down a few notches, buff these people a little. So like, yeah, it was dope. They have like a whole like tournament mode already built into the system. They have the full replay functionality. I can go to anybody's profile and watch all of their replays. You can save stuff to like it is. Like the game
having full replay in an alpha is bonkers to me. That's crazy to think of.
Yeah.
Also noting that I think it's NetEase is the name of the company. They are solely a mobile game developer for the most part. That's what they were for the longest time. But one cool thing is they developed, I think it was Apex Mobile. And like that was the thing that like had it was one of the shooters in the mobile game. A lot of people were like, "Well, that's cool," because like they handled that pretty well. So we'll see how they do.
Let me rant about something. And dear listeners or viewers, I promise you we'll get to Marvel Snap in a second. But I need to like vocalize this. I need to vocalize this. And Brad, you got a decent head on your shoulders. You can let me know if I'm crazy. All right. So I made a video. Sure. Did you hear about the contract debacle with Marvel Rivals?
I did see that, yeah.
Okay. So there's some stuff like that. I made a video explaining, like, I saw that. it's immediately clear right off the bat that there's some language barrier stuff, right? And there was stuff that was conflicting. Like, it was like clearly a mistake, right? And then NetEase came out, made an announcement. Those of you who don't know, there was a contract. It said stuff like, you can't say anything negative about this game, and blah, blah, blah. But throughout Discord and even in the content creator conversations we had, they made it seem like they want feedback. They want criticisms and stuff. But anyway, so people were like, oh, freaking out. I'm like, whatever. But then I was just on Twitter because this guy Miller, who's been leaking everything, he tweeted something, like, because they always like DMCA stuff, like it happened with like Suicide Squad, I guess the old Marvel Avengers game, like he always gets DMCA'd. But he said something, like it was like the verbiage in the DMCA takedown. And basically what I'm getting at, Brad, is I write for a living. And you're an English guy. You were like an English teacher, right? I write for a living. Yeah. It's very clear reading these things that it is a language barrier thing, right? It is very clear. Actually, okay, so in this takedown, it says, description of infringement. These account has acquired, okay? It starts out by saying, these account has acquired confidential game content through an unknown source and is maliciously exposing it in large quantities, right? And then he says something sassy like, oh, what do you mean in an unknown source, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it feels like you're making fun of people who don't speak English, you know? Like, that's what it feels like. And I'm just like, I don't know how that doesn't click for people. Like, I'm getting offended for NetEase. Now, I did say, if you wanna argue that they should have people who are fluent in English, who is like handling their writing of stuff, go ahead and make that argument. You know what I mean? But the fact that people are labeling them as malicious or like talking about the way they word stuff, it just doesn't sit right with me. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, there is that tweet from, what content creator was it? Got like 20-something thousand likes where they said, I'm very disappointed in Marvel Rivals with the initial contract thing.
Yeah.
It got like, a lot of publicity. It got, like I said, it got like 20+ thousand likes on Twitter. And then I heard nothing about it after a day or two. Like,
if you go to YouTube, type in Marvel Rivals, what content creators were doing. Hold on,
time out. Yeah, that doesn't mean shit to me. Then content creators shilling out to try and fucking, get a few clicks on something while it's relevant, they can fuck off. Like that doesn't do anything. That's not real reaction. It doesn't mean anything. I don't care.
They're like, oh, here's the non-contractual review of Marvel Rivals, and people have like contracts.
Yeah, I saw every single person doing that, and then they would just not mention that aspect of it in their review.
Yeah.
So like, who fucking gives a shit?
Content creators, am I right? Okay, let's talk about
we
Marvel
suck.
stuff.
We're the worst kind of people there are.
We are, because now I'm doing it on our fucking videos because that's how we get views on these things. People are like, oh, Brad and Chris are angry about something?
You just gotta yoink out the negative aspect of what we're talking about. Like, we can easily just name this video something about like Leech changed again. Do they even know what they're doing? Some shit like that. I don't know. Or just like put like leader buffed. What? Like something stupid
again?
Like that.
The old leader is back. And those of you who haven't read the notes, we'll get to that.
Yeah, let's get into the fucking notes. All right, let's go.
As you're pulling that up, real quick, I saw you say something on Twitter. You said you're not a fan of the current meta.
Yeah, I'm not. It's just I don't like Blink. I don't like Blink's impact. I mostly it's the Leech into Blink. I honestly, as far as the 4-drops are considered, or the 4-drop Leech is considered, that doesn't bother me too much. It's the fact that Blink negates the downside of just, Leech has 2 power. The reason he has 2 power is because you're supposed to have a tempo loss, right? That's the whole way you balance the guard. Blink eliminating that made me just go like, I'm not really interested in this play pattern at the moment.
Not feeling that.
I have dropped all the way down to 38,000. That's like the lowest I've ever been post Infinite.
Oh, really?
I always hover around at the most, like, the mid-teens. If I really wasn't playing, I'd be like in the low 20s, and then in a day I'd jump back up to 12,000. But like I'm currently almost 40,000 because that's how little I'm playing post Infinite. That will probably change on Thursday. I'm probably taking a break from Marvel Snap tomorrow. I'm probably going to play some Lorcana and some Chivalry 2 if this update goes live. I'm excited for that. But, yeah, like, I don't know, just Blink after Leech. Blink in general, I don't know why they put her back at 7 when they initially brought her down from 7 to 6. Like, I think she's still a little bit pushed. I thought she was a little bit pushed at 6. I don't know. Whatever. But really, it's Leech into Blink. If they were able to get rid of the Leech into Blink interaction, here, let me tell you one of my ideas. So there's 2 that I talked about with Teddy over on Can't Stop Snapping. One was an interesting one that we talked about where it's like, what if Leech, like, his body just went away, the on reveal happens, he blows up, becomes a token of himself. Like, just a 2/2 token or whatever, right? That
what
way,
would that do?
Well, you can't blink it because you didn't play the token.
Oh, gotcha.
Leech is dead, so Blink doesn't target it. There's that. The other one that I had an idea for is, okay, let's make Leech a 1/1 that says the next time you play a card here, he on reveals hits their hand to take away their on reveals. This does 2 things. One, it provides agency for your opponent. You play Leech on 1 or whatever, and at the earliest, it's going to happen the next turn, right? So you can get around some stuff. You can, like, try to, you can wait to do it early, later, try and impact their turns 5 and 6 or whatever. You can, do it early on turn 2 to try to mess up the early game. But the big thing is it gives agency to your opponent. Be like, okay, how do I play around this? Do I try to get this out of my hand now, or do I hold on to it, expect them to, like, do it later, whatever. On top of that, not only does it give them agency, it gives them the ability to play Elektra or Killmonger to kill the Leech so it never goes off in the first place. So that was my idea for a rework for Leech.
Interesting.
I would like to see that tried, but I don't know how well they can implement it in terms of, like, their, some cards are weird, with like the abilities. But yeah, Leech is just whatever. I think if you got rid of the Leech Blink interaction, which I guess they're technically doing, he wouldn't see near as much play. But I'm saying even as a forecast.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like, at first the Leech thing, I didn't really mind it, like, curbed Hela, you know what I mean? And but yeah, it's popping up a lot. I just, like, I was looking at Untapped and I was like, holy shit, the Jean Grey Punisher deck or whatever is still one of the top decks. And I've just been using that, right? And I'm just like Cosmo, Jean Grey, or Jean Grey Cosmo coming this, you know what I mean? Yeah. And, like, they're not doing stuff as much, but yeah, if I don't have that combo, I just kind of bounce out. But yeah, I haven't hit Infinite yet because I took, like, the whole last week off from Snap pretty much. If I had time, I just played, like, a little Conquest, but now I'm at, like, 96 or 97. Yeah, but anyways, just debating on whether or not I want to try to push before all these crazy changes happen, and it starts with Captain America.
Yeah, a card that you're going to slot right in to the deck.
Yeah, should we caveat this? So anyways, everybody, this got leaked, all right? The OTA got leaked, okay? Yep. So we don't know if these changes are for sure at the time we're recording this. So, yeah, we're recording this on Tuesday. It happens on Thursday, so this could change, but
worth noting, though, that the last time the OTA got leaked, it was 100% accurate.
Yep.
So take that as, what you will. But yes, for sure, there's a chance that, like, last second, this is like what was, put in for the OTA days ago. That's what got leaked. And then maybe, they've decided since then, in between the information that we have available to us and what they plan on doing, maybe some numbers get tweaked here and there, or they omit a card completely from the OTA, kind of like they did with that 4-cost, the 4/5 Venom not that long ago, a couple months ago. So that's always a possibility.
Yeah,
but
so we'll see.
We kick it off with a card that people have been begging for over a year to get a change. And I've immediately seen complaints about this change. So it is Captain America. He goes from being a 3/3 ongoing, your other cards here have +1 power, to a 3/2 ongoing. Your other ongoing cards have +2 power.
Oh, I didn't even notice that part. The other ongoing cards. Interesting.
So as a sacrifice of 1 power for himself and the generic ability to buff everything around him, he now is focused on other ongoing cards, but being able to give +2 power. That's why he goes amazing in that ongoing deck. He very well could just replace Punisher altogether. You maybe can run both him and Punisher, I guess, but I think if there is a cut to be made, I feel like it's Punisher. He is strictly better in that sense.
Yeah, especially in that deck. Yeah, I don't know what the guy. Okay, and that's not fair. That's not fair, right? I know people have been waiting for a Captain America change, but we finally get Punisher being playable, and they're like, "Yeah, fuck Punisher. We're gonna get."
I mean, is he playable because he's good, or is he playable because he's the best thing in an ongoing shell at a 3 cost?
Yeah, that's it. But now this one's gonna be right.
This one's better,
yeah. So what the hell?
I've seen some people be like, well, now you just stack a lane full of ongoings and you just make your Enchantress hit. I'm like, that's what you were already fucking doing in the deck.
Yeah.
Like, you just replace the Captain America with Punisher in the deck currently, and you're like, yeah, Enchantress hoses you, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want from me.
Get that Cosmo down. Till you get that Cosmo down.
Yeah, get Cosmo down. But yeah, this is cool. This is very good. They've been reluctant to change Captain America because they don't want to affect the early game. And they say in the notes below that they feel that this is a change that they arrived to that shouldn't threat the integrity of early play, while also giving a unique option.
Let me say this, like, that's silly. That is silly, right? So the theory is, right, they want some very basic vanilla cards for early game play to not overwhelm players, right? And like people have been like, "Hey, buff Captain America."
It's also just for balance in the sense of like they don't want a single deck to be like the far and away best thing to be doing in series pools or pools 1 and 2 or series 1 and 2 while people are climbing.
Yeah, but but noticing that it's like, oh, your other ongoing cards like that adds a layer of complexity to the early game. I'm like, you guys could have done this forever ago. You know what I mean? But I'm not mad. I'm kind of indifferent. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna slot this in for Punisher. You know, but I hope they have
to see play. That's the big thing. He finally gets to see.
Yeah, how many of us have dope Captain America variants that we just don't use?
I've been wanting to get that nullified Captain America, but I just refuse to.
That one is like sick.
Because I'm like, why? Why would I get it? I'll never.
Yeah, why am I gonna spend 1,200 gold on a card that I'm not gonna?
Now I might. I still might not. I'm not. It's not my favorite kind of list is the ongoing list, but like, hey, that's cool. But speaking of ongoing, Chris, in anticipation of this buff, which they view in their mind as being a pretty significant buff for ongoing, they went ahead and knocked a point of power off both Spectrum and Luke Cage. No other changes there. Spectrum is a 6/6 now, and Luke Cage is a 3/3. 2 things. 1, Spectrum, don't care. Doesn't do literally anything. This is fine. I get it. They can always revert this later if they feel like, the preemptive hit doesn't matter. Luke Cage, on the other hand, he now is back in business in C3. I'm so happy for all 4 of you. I'm really happy for y'all. But also, he should have been a 3/3 in the first place. Him being a 3/4, the quote-unquote vanilla stat line, and one of the most impactful effects in games when he does matter is pretty crazy to me. So he should have been this off-rip.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it, though.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
care.
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of the Spectrum deck. Like, not going to point off. I think it's going to do something. It's going to do something. There's some weird, like, awkward games I've played where I'm just like, well, at least I'm putting 7 power over here, and like 6 it's a little So we'll see how it goes. But like you said, it's an easy knob to kind of play around with.
Remember she was a 6/5? Damn.
Yeah. Those days. Okay.
All right.
This next one I don't understand, so I'm going to need you to explain it to me like I'm a moron.
Let's go. Okay, so the other card that people complained about alongside Captain America when people ask about, like, hey, why aren't you buffing this card? It's going to be Baron Mordo, mostly because it is and has been one of, if not the most weakest card in the game. Going from a 2/3 on reveal that draws your opponent a card and sets its cost to 6, it's now going to be a 2/3 on reveal that makes the top card of your opponent's deck cost 6 until turn 6. This is not an ongoing ability, so it's not something that is going to affect every single top card of the deck for the rest of the game. I've seen that idea thrown around. That's not how this works. What it does is, think of Iceman, okay? think of Iceman. Iceman hits a card in your opponent's hand, gives it +1, right? This is hitting the top card currently on your opponent's deck, makes it 6 until turn 6. So, certain cards like, Ant-Man, Jeff, the nice cards that you want to play on turns like 1, 2, or 3 to weave into your plays, that's going to be impactful because they're not really typically going to weave in a Jeff or whatever on turn 6 because you're kind of beyond that game plan, right? However, that's one. So I'll talk about the pros first. Okay. So that's one instance where it's positive. The other idea where I think it's positive is, let's say you and I are playing, Chris, and your opening hand is just like, a lot of expensive stuff, right? Sometimes those 1, 2, and 3 costs are just stuck in the bottom of your deck. You're like, wow, I have no turn 1 or 2 play. Yeah. Turn 2, I play Baron Mordo. You haven't played anything yet. And then turn 3 rolls around, you draw one of your playable cards that's a 6 cost that you can't play for the rest of until the turn 6. That tempo loss of not being able to play a card is where he will also be good. Now, here's where he's not going to be so good. Imagine I hit a Cerebro or a Patriot. I don't think I care, because once turn 6 rolls around, if I'm the Patriot Cerebro player, cool, I'll just play Patriot Mystique, or I'll just play Cerebro Mystique, because it goes back to its normal cost after once turn 6 rolls around.
Oh, interesting.
Until turn 6.
Oh,
it costs 6 until turn 6. So turns 2 through 5, it's a 6 cost. Turn 6, it's back to its normal power or normal cost. Also, okay. Hitting 6 drops does the same thing in this sense.
That's an interesting little layer there. But yeah, no, I was like, at first it didn't make sense, but now I remember that I forgot that Baron Mordo draws a card, right?
Not anymore.
That's one of the things that we've talked about with like Ronin. Like Ronin decks have always like helped the opponent in a weird way, and it's not strong enough to like negate that, right? Like if you use Crystal, Baron, Master Mold or whatever, like even Master Mold, right? I'm giving you just something that you might be able to play on curve, and you have like a 2/3, Yeah. So like, yeah, I like that it's not drawing a card. I will see how this works, because you make a very good point. That until turn 6 is a very interesting thing,
I think this is without doubt, without question. I think you're insane to argue otherwise. This is a buff. This is absolutely better than the previous rendition of the card. However, it could go from being as simple as the worst card in Marvel Snap to the 4th worst card in Marvel Snap. It could do that. I really wouldn't be shocked if that was the level of the buff. So, how good is it going to be? I don't know. My initial gut reaction is it's going to be really impactful when it is, and really hit or like really bad when it's not. I don't think there's a middle ground here. It's like it's either going to make your opponent stumble so hard that they might just retreat because they aren't doing anything, or it's going to give them a card that's either already a 6 cost, or a card that once it goes back to its normal thing, like Silver Surfer's another one, right? Where it's like, I didn't want to play this till turn 6 anyway.
Yeah, all I know is I'm just going to make an extremely annoying deck right off the bat, right? Iceman, Baron Mordo, Beast, silly shit like that. You know what I mean? Maybe Korg, Korg, Baron Mordo, Iceman, and Beast, do it again. Silly shit. Silly stuff. That's what I'm going to do. And then see if it works. But yeah, it depends on, like, I'm trying to think. Like, right now, Patriot is very popular. So that'll be tricky. But it's not the top deck. It's not the top deck. Did you know that? I figured it was.
Why would it be?
I don't know. Everybody talks about it like so good, and I've always been a Patriot hater.
But, I mean, your high roll still only gives you 24 a lane Patriot Mystique Ultron.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not too big. It's not too big at all.
No, it's not. It's pretty easy to kind of overcome it. I guess 28 is your best, but like, because Blue Marvel. So if you have Patriot, Mystique, Blue Marvel, and Ultron, then that's you got 28 in the other lanes, and then the lane you played all those on is what? 5, I'm sorry, no, 3, 5, 6, 14. So you have 14, 28, 28. I don't know, man. I feel like it's pretty easy to get 15 in one lane and 30 in another in today's Meta Snap.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with like lockout stuff too.
And Hela.
Yeah.
All right. So next we have a really, really significant change here.
I've been asking for this for ages.
Grandmaster is no longer a 2-0, he's a 2-2. I thought a 2-1 was where they would go. Straight to 2-2, I was a little shocked by.
Yeah.
Chris, I genuinely think turn 2 Grandmaster is actually viable. I thought it was close to being viable as a 2-0, but because you just take such a huge tempo loss on the 0 power, it makes it kind of meh. But Iceman, Korg, Hood, any of these, or not really Ham, but like those initial 3, on 1, Grandmaster on top of them, just to do it again on 2, and still have 2 power generated. Yeah, I'd like to hit another card with Iceman. Yeah, I'd like to give you another Rock and Darkhawk. Yeah, I'd like to get another Demon in my hand without the worry of having another -3 somewhere on the board with Hood.
Yeah.
Like, these are all really good. And then, of course, there's being able to weave in other stuff as well. Like, with, like, your big combos, turn 5, Grandmaster Rock Slide, for example, is something that's kind of cool as well if you're going to the Darkhawk direction. Being able to do it on top of other stuff and like maybe like do Grandmaster on 4 alongside a Beast to like move it mid and then bounce it back up and like the bounce deck, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Being able to leave behind 2 power gives you all these cool flexible plays with the on reveals, but gives you actual decent tempo. It's not amazing tempo. A 2-3 would be amazing tempo, but it's much better than 0.
Yeah, well, speaking of 2-3, I've actually been playing a bit of Grandmaster. I ended up folding and getting Sage. I realized she's a card that I would enjoy playing, but I've been using this deck with Grandmaster, Sage, but it also has Bast in it. So I've been when I get lucky on the curve, I'm turning my Grandmaster into a nice little 2-3. But yeah, not having to worry about that, at least having like 2 points, good. It's just interesting to me, like the way they like gauge cards before they come out. Like they clearly made this a 2-0 because they're like, this card is gonna be amazing, Because I almost didn't even get this card, and then I did just to, like mess around with like I think the top deck at the time was like a destroy deck, and it still wasn't even that good. So this might make it just a little bit more playable. Bounce is gonna be interesting, especially with the next one that we're about to talk about.
And the next one is Werewolf by Night.
My man.
He's back. 3-1, by the way, which means turn 2 Ravona lets you go turn 3 Hood,
Jesus.
Iceman, Korg, like the ones we just mentioned with Grandmaster above, plus Werewolf by Night. Yeah. So you can get immediate value for them with Ravona in the deck. Werewolf being back is awesome. I like to see Werewolf decks come back in general. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, it gives good more flexibility to the meta, I think, and introducing high skill ceiling decks like Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, something I saw, but it's not a huge deal to me because I'm not a Loki whiner. But somebody said they posted a meme. It was Icus, great follow on Twitter. He posted decks that I love playing, but he put like people being excited about potential werewolf buff. Me remembering the best werewolf deck was Loki. And I'm just like, that's a point. We'll see if people do that. But like, I haven't like, sure. Some of the decks I'm running, not all of them are running Mobius right now. But when I know they're running Loki, and I got Mobius, I'm just like, and it's
also
not a huge
the best werewolf deck being Loki was months ago. Now we have cards like Sage and stuff that can actually be really interesting and bounce. We have Sasquatch coming out soon as well. Maybe it's still the best deck is Loki. It was very good in there before, but I don't know. There's a chance that other bounce decks can just hold their own against him.
Yeah, I'm just happy
Shadow King is going to see a resurgence, I feel, in this sense. I don't know, man. Also, by the way, if Loki becomes a bigger deck again, then that means Mobius, like you said, becomes a bigger card, which means Baron Mordo becomes a bad card once again.
Oh yeah, that's poor Baron,
Can't catch a break.
We'll see, but yeah, I was waiting so long for that werewolf comic book cover one, the classic comic book cover. I get it, they nerf them. I never play the damn card anymore, so yeah. But I think there's a lot of like you said, it was months ago. There's a lot of cool stuff to do with it. You know what? I'm gonna be a man and admit something to you and everybody watching or listening, Brad.
Okay.
Werewolf for me is a difficult card to play, right? Like Bounce took a long fucking time for me to get like decent with it, right? Because you just really got to like get your order down. Man, Werewolf, I fuck that shit up constantly. Just like I'm like playing it out in my head, and the next thing I know, I like blocked a lane and nothing worked. You know, so maybe now I'll get some more practice. Just to the proving grounds I go.
Good luck. I believe in you. You'll be able to get it down. But next, we have another green guy. Or I guess our first green guy, really. There's another one after him. It's Leader. Simple. Gets a power buff. 6-2 to 6-3. I kind of thought Leader was a little slept on. I liked being able to go turn 5 Sandman in a priority-driven deck, and then Leader on 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one of those psychological buffs. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones where, like, they just do it, and the play rate's going to go up, and people are going to be like, oh, like that 1 point of power isn't going to do shit. It just put Leader back on people's radar. And, like, that's just something that they do. Because, yeah, like the Sandman ones, or especially because, like it says in this description, like, they thought Leader stocks would rise with the release of Red Hulk. And it's like, yeah, right? Last season, I was running a Hela deck that used Sandman and Leader, you know? And, like, there was constantly times when I just had priority and stuff, and I was just like, okay, do whatever the hell you want, boop, you know, and just copy their shit. So, yeah.
And it's great to go, ramp your Leader and then Odin the Leader. It's fun.
Oh, yeah, that is the most annoying shit. Dude, just you instantly gave me a flashback of one of my worst Marvel Snap experiences, and it was back in those kind of days when, like, Sandman ramp was big before the Sandman change, and somebody or like one of the decks would ramp out Arrow and then fucking Odin the Arrow. That shit drove me nuts. Like, not many things trigger me. Like, I was fine with Galactus all those months, right? But that shit right there, getting arrowed twice with some bullshit like that, oh my lord. Oh.
Yeah?
That infuriated me.
I kind of wish Arrow would go back to getting on unrevealed cards.
Yeah, she might need it. I think that might be fair, right? If she still only moves the last card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be cards as in, like, if you played, multiple of the same power, then she gets both of them, but...
Yeah, I heard, I saw some people discussing, I forgot where it was, like, oh, I wonder if Arrow could go back to, like, the original Arrow.
Absolutely
like,
fucking not.
Never in a million years.
That is so insane. People that bitched about Eliath, I feel like they didn't play during Marvel Snap when
those of you who don't know, if you're newer, Arrow used to move every single card played that turn or the last turn, right?
It was that turn.
That turn. So if you had priority and there was a lane that had some open spots, you just done.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. You get priority, just be winning in 2 lanes. And then the lane that you're losing in, just play Arrow there. You yoink their stuff, and you're like... I hit Infinite back-to-back seasons just doing that. It was just a Darkhawk. It was the Satan's Pet Dino. It was... or Satan's Pet Hawk, sorry.
Yeah,
Satan's
I remember.
Hawk, it was Darkhawk, Devil Dino, Mystique stuff, and Arrow was just like... You basically went into the Darkhawk or the Devil Dino lines... And then the last turn, you're like, I will Arrow this lane. Yeah. Goodbye.
And it was unrevealed cards, too, right? So, like, people would be playing there, like, people would snap you like, oh, I got a Shang-Chi, right?
Exactly.
You're just like, you just blow it over. Just ridiculous. But, yeah, I think she could be fine moving an unrevealed card.
Yep. I think that's fine. Leech, who was deemed to not be fine as a 4 cost according to their own personal data, is going back to a 5 cost, but they're giving him a little bit of a power buff because they did feel that the 5/3 was not really a playable card in its current state, so he's going to a 5/5. Funnily enough, they do say that the biggest reason to the move was 4 cost was to hit Annihilus, though they didn't see any value in strengthening one of the few answers to a handful of other powerful endgame threats. And Annihilus wasn't even substantially affected by the increased presence of Leech, and the win rate for Leech itself grew higher than we'd hope to see against other strategies. Who would have fucking thought? But I really think the hidden aspect of this is the simple idea of Blink's playability with Leech. I'd like to see the data on Leech's win rate index excluding Blink versus Leech's win rate index including Blink, because I feel like there's a fairly good difference. But going to a 5/5 is, I don't even know, because like Hela very often now, because of Corvus, just plays Hela on 5 now, and just develop, like, just instead of just trying to win 8 cubes, it just gives you a board that it's like, can you beat 40 power in each lane on turn 6? Okay, bye. Like, Leech doesn't even hit Hela half the time now.
Yeah. You can also, we can get a rough idea on Untapped of Leech with Blink and Leech without Blink. This one, it only has 820 games, but without Blink, had a 50% win rate with 0.11 cubes. With Blink, if I go to the same amount of games, 57. That's 7% higher, and 0.25 more cubes with Blink. Hot diggity damn.
Who would have thought getting rid of the downside of a card in its own balance would have some adverse effects. Whatever. Yeah, this is fine. Whatever.
You think will this make you happy again?
No, because like the problem of Leech being back to a 5 cost means that Hela is just back to what she is. I will not be happy until they just change Hela. Again, I'm so tired of saying this to everyone whenever I fucking talk about how I just don't like Hela. I do not think Hela is overpowered. Chris, I'm going to fucking repeat myself. I do not think Hela is overpowered. From a gameplay perspective and a balance perspective, Hela is actually pretty decently balanced because of the RNG built into her. She is a card that is kind of an all-in slot machine thing. Even playing her doesn't guarantee that you win the game. There are ways to kind of get around that by filling up certain lanes or whatever and kind of giving your big cards to go focus on 2 lanes rather than 3, sure. But for the most part, her RNG balances her, and that's reflective of her data. Glenn has said this. We can see it on Untap with the minute amount of data we have available to us. She does not give you a really high amount of win rate. It's about a 50% win rate, maybe just a little bit over. The cube rate, though, is where she kind of has her saving grace. Because of the RNG, you have the ability to steal cubes. That's where she's good. However, she's still not interesting or fun to play both with and against, in my opinion. And that is an opinion shared across a lot of the community. And when they look at challenge or changes based on fun, like Goliath, which, by the way, I asked Glenn in a post or whatever, the team post or whatever, said, hey, where's the line between like we think this is like towing the line of just like a bit too unfun and maybe could help us support the idea of changing it or not? Because there's a lot of cards recently that were changed because of like, oh, it's not fun to play against. And then Glenn said straight up, well, we've never changed a card based on fun. And I was like, you're lying to my motherfucking face. You've said that in the notes of cards. Eliath himself in the notes said, in all of your stuff of like where he is in power level, you also added, he's also not very fun to play against, according to like our community sentiment. So you're using that as a reason to change him. It might not be the sole reason or reason A, but it's certainly reason B or C, which still influences you in some way, shape, or form to make these changes. why does Hela not scratch that or tick that same box of like, a lot of people don't like playing against Hela.
Yeah.
And look, I like her effect. I just want it to be a bit more deterministic, maybe, to give more agency to both players to understand of like, okay, this is what they've discarded. I can kind of map out where the cards are going to go and figure out if I can beat this. That still keeps her being really good or whatever. But like, I don't know, just change her slightly. I saw a suggestion where she resurrects your cards as like zombie tokens of themselves, and they're at a fixed power. So it's like for each card you discard, you get a token that's like, what, 6, 7, 8 power of an equivalent of all those cards, right?
Yeah.
Rather than being just like, oh, I discarded the Infinite, cool, I get the Infinite now. Like, that would shift Hela away from just being all big, dumb idiot cards and maybe more of like a hand fill type of like, oh, Modok away and just get a bunch of tokens. It's a fixed power. That could be interesting. I don't fucking know. Just do something that's just, I don't find her interesting. I find her incredibly boring.
Yeah, no, that's the sentiment. And like, that's what Marvel Snap players or just humans in general need to understand. Like there's like statistic based stuff, and then there's like opinion based stuff, right? What you're saying is you find the card unfun to play against. You and I said that a million times when Galactus was old Galactus, right? We're just like,
even when we hit Infinite, like I hit Infinite within 3 hours of the new season, in like that day with Galactus, and I was like, Chris, it's really easy. It's not very fun, but it's easy.
Yeah. So we could say, hey, this card is not fun. It's not fun for this. And yeah, it's like, it's boring. And yeah, I'll say this, like, I hate when I play a really, really good game, right? And then the person stays in. Because like, I used to play poker, and that was the cool thing about poker is that you could like kind of bully someone out, right? And with Hela, people are like, fuck it. Just gonna see what happens. I'm staying, you know. And then both of us are just sitting there, and then they fucking emote you. Then they fucking emote you, Brad. Like, my skilled Hela. It's like fucking kick rocks. But yeah. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep playing my ongoing deck, force him into my Jean Grey lane with with my man Cosmo. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Which is fine. Like again, and people are like, well, she has so much counterplay. I'm like, I guess, yeah. But like, really, if you think about it, it's not as much as you would think. So your brain's really, like, oh, just play Cosmo. Do you know how fucking easy it is for me as a Hela player to just say, oh, that Cosmo lane? I'm just not gonna fucking play Hela there.
No, like what I was just saying is you literally have to draw Jean and Cosmo, right?
Yeah.
You need that,
or you need to be combo. Like Goose lane, Cosmo lane, and like storm another lane, right?
Yeah,
all in the same game to stop one card. Yeah. And it's like, what are you doing? It's not as simple as just like, oh, just play counters. Like, that's not how she functions as a card. I think you're forgetting what she does.
Yeah, like old Galactus was definitely easier to counter than Hela, you know? Like, old Galactus, like, they had to keep a lane clear, so there were things that you could do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're both equally telegraphed. But yeah, I will say, old Galactus was way more oppressive than Hela is, or has been. But at least old Galactus and Galactus in general is a very unique and interesting effect in my mind, regardless of how much you enjoy it or think it's fun. I can be honest and say a lot of Galactus in the meta is not very fun. The same way as I view a lot of Hela in the meta is not very fun. It's that simple. She's not amazing, but she's just not very fun.
Yeah.
And Leech going back to 5 doesn't do anything to stop that. But you know what? They said that Annihilus was the reason the Leech went to 4 in the first place. With Leech going back to 5, you can't hit Annihilus anymore, Chris. So what do? They changed Sentry from a 4/10 to a 4/8, making the Void a 4-8. It's the original stat line the Sentry had on release. It's back. I've seen a lot of people say this is a massive, incredible, horrible nerf for the Annihilus deck. And I'm here to tell them confidently, they're wrong. The very simple reason is, oh my god, a 4-point difference in taking off 4 points is massive for any deck. You would be right in most circumstances. This is not just a typical 4-point power difference. It's a 4-point power difference off of 2 different lanes. On top of which, Sentry now gets underneath Shang-Chi. I know what you're thinking. if I had a nickel for every time someone said, well, now this card dodges this tech card, I'd have at least 3 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird that's happened this many times. Well, here's another fucking nickel, dude. This card getting underneath of Shang-Chi is actually pretty impactful because in the Sentry and Nihilus package, typically, yes, you can send over the Void on one side, and that can usually kind of shore up that right lane for you. But a lot of good players will preemptively fill that lane with things like Jeff and Nocturne, both of which seeing pretty high play rates at the moment, to be able to combat the Void in the first place. And then they can Shang-Chi your Sentry and your power plays are really all gone. It's easy to lose those games. Now, you are guaranteed to have 8 power. Can you lose games off of the 2 power difference? Sure, but the negative 8 power going to your opponent's side is almost always going to give you that lane a win. It's like giving them a Hobgoblin. Or you're forcing them to play into it where you can focus on the other 2 lanes. And now you don't have to worry about Shang-Chi to hit the Sentry. This is not a nerf, nor will I go as far as to say it's a buff. It's a lateral move. I think the difference in power that you lose versus the ability to now not worry about Shang-Chi makes it so it's kind of just there. It's still going to do fine.
I can't remember, but I do think that the way it was ordered was Sentry got buffed to 10 before Annihilus came out.
Correct.
So that's something else you need to take into consideration, right? Like, had Annihilus been out and he was already, and they just left him at a 4-8, things might be a little different.
Annihilus is still a 22-point swing. He is still a 22-point swing. You have 6 power on Annihilus and the 16 power swing between the 8 and 8 on the Voids. So, really? You think going from 26 to 22 on a point swing is that big of a deal? I don't.
Yeah.
Also, on top of that, it's not just a -4 power difference between the Sentry and the Void. It's 2 power in 2 different lanes. That's very different. It's not the same as me saying, oh, Chris, Infinite got nerfed down to a 16 power. That would be impactful. 4 power off the Infinite with the downside it has already, that's impactful for sure. However, this is not the same. It's 2 power off the Sentry, 2 power off the Void, attacking 2 different lanes at all times. They're never stacked with each other, except for locations like the Great Web.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen as much of the Sentry and Isla stuff lately. It's still like around. It seems like the play rate's dropped off a little. So I'm curious if that'll just psychologically hit people, or people are just like, yeah. But I think the junk players, and then especially with Namora coming out this week. I'm sure there's going to be some junk players, but I don't think many people are purchasing Namora. Did you get her?
Yeah.
Say collection complete? Yeah, of course you did. Yeah, I might get suckered into fucking getting her, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, I guess before we wanted to talk about the next thing was like new cards. Let's talk about Namora really quick. Okay, let's just do that real quick. Okay, because I did get her, and I played with her for about a couple hours today. I tried a few different things. I tried Thor, Beta Ray Bill, Jane Foster stuff, because I've found that usually Thor and Beta Ray Bill are in their lanes by themselves pretty often, and you're trying to go like Jane and like fucking in the Jane lane you go like Hammer Odin, like that's the line, and they're usually still by themselves. So Namora gives you like an alternate idea of like, cool, if you don't hit the hammers, you just play Namora instead of Jane, and you just get +5. It's like a pseudo hammer for your Thors. It proved to be all right. Figure out the rest of the deck is really interesting, kind of hard. But that core idea of like Namora being a backup plan for the Thors is something interesting. Though my original idea proved to be the best one. Goblins. Playing Ravonna with goblins, and then we even tried shifting into like a Wong reveal stuff with like Wong, Ironheart. We have Nico in there. Actually, if you do the auto deck, it's pretty much that right now. And there's some weird ones in the auto deck, like Captain Marvel. We tried it. It's you could change it, in my opinion. But we found her with Wong to be pretty good. There's something to be said about maybe doing like her with, Wong, and Wasp and Yellow Jacket, and then Odining on top of those to like, because then that's 10 power and then 20, so that's plus 30 to either side with that combo. If you go turn 5, Wasp on one side, Yellow Jacket on the other, Namora on top of the Wong, then that's plus 10, Odin plus 20. So that's cool. But really just having the backbone of like White Tiger Odin was interesting and pretty decent. Long story short, she's okay. She's skippable. I still think the Goblins is the best thing we're doing. Giving them negative power on their side without sacrificing real estate on your side, so you can actually make her work is, in my opinion, the best way to use her. But oftentimes, as with all cards, you reach a pivot point in the game, you're like, it's just better to White Tiger here, just based on the way the game went. So she's cool. She's not an immediate, like, you must get her. Sage is one I would say is closer to being like a must get if you like bounce, because people have found out that she's really good in bounce. And then we got Sasquatch coming out soon, so that's just going to be a nice pair together, all that good stuff. So,
Well, so let's talk about that thing I want to talk about, which is they're releasing so many damn playable cards, right? Like, there's just a lot of them. So Cam Best made a video on this. I was like, I can see his point. But now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it that, like, second dinner, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? Because people used to bitch like, oh, they're releasing weak cards, or oh, they're releasing powerful cards, and it's like, the OTAs and stuff. But like now they keep releasing cards that are just playable, right? And it's just like, that is a motherfucker for your resources, right? Like, I'm coming off a month where I was spending 4 keys to get like just mid cards that I was just like, this is all right. But it was costing so many keys that now I'm trying to be stingy. Like, I was going to pass on stage, not go Namora. I have no plans of getting her right now, but everybody keeps asking me, and I just keep saying the same thing. I used to say, like, you want to find the intersection of a card that's good and fun. If it meets those two things, sick, right? Like, Red Hulk is a prime example. That card checks off the good box for me. Fun. I don't like playing big dumb cards. It is just a good card that you want to have. That's it, right? So now, me personally, so everybody listening, if you're going to ask, should I get this card or this card? Think about what kind of decks you like playing, and you need to start thinking in that way, Because, like, if you had to rate some of these cards, right, they're probably going to be a point or two off, right? Like, Namora, like, might be like a 5 or a 6, right? And you're like, Sage is like maybe a 6 or a 7 or 7 or 8. You know what I mean? Like, there's not like this huge gap. Whereas it's like Hercules was like a fucking 1. Then you have these other cards. So it was like, oh, Hercules, easy pass. Selene, probably under like maybe like 2 or 3, maybe. So anyways, it's a lot more difficult now to decide if you are not being like a big spender in this game.
Wasn't Selena -1 at first?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. She was. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she had negative power.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they were like, oh, this is
she was a
-1
on release. Oh my God.
Crazy.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
They use a lot of good cards. The Nocturne so far is a good card. Sage, I would say, so far is a good card. Sage, my prediction was that she would be the worst card of the month. But I did have a caveat saying, but I will happily accept being surprised, because I could see her just randomly just being like, she happens to work out just fine, and she's on average a 3.6 or a 3.8, and you're very happy with that. So far, pleasantly been surprised. I'm happy that she's good. I don't want her to be bad.
Yeah. So a couple things. I think one of the major things was I was stupid, because I kept saying, and I probably said this in the podcast, I kept thinking about how it's such a difficult condition to meet, right? But my brain, for some reason, even though I know how to read, for some reason it was saying cost. My brain was saying cost, right? So each card with a different cost gives you power, but it's each card with a different power, right? But I did realize that the card is good. I think in most situations, this card is at least a 3.8 in a lot of situations. It is hard to get the card under that, right? And in better situations, she's becoming a 3. Like, I've gotten 3.13 quite a few times. I think that's when I bassed her or whatever. But she also slots into decks that I find fun, which is a lot of little cards, right? I'm playing her with Angela, Bishop, Havoc, just weird, goofy shit. Because those cards, you know, their power's constantly changing, so it's easier to kind of play with them with Sage. So, yeah, she meets that fun factor for me. Now, Namora, I don't know if I find that fun. I do kind of like doing goblin stuff, though, so I'm keeping an eye on it. But I do want to save resources, so I might pass.
I would say Namora is... how do I describe the fun factor of Namora? Because it's weird. It's not like fun in the traditional sense of like, you know, you just do a lot of crazy stuff with it, so you equate that to being fun. Mm-hmm. I think it's fun in the sense of like she is a constant puzzle in your game, and you're constantly keeping in the back of your mind of like, okay, I want to try and set this up in a way that I can ensure that I have cards on their own. Like, where do I put this Jeff? Where do I put the Nocturne? And like, if you play Namora on 5 and you buff your Jeff and Nocturne in one lane, it's like, okay, do I go for the Odin to just guarantee I buff both those again? Or do I like move one of them into the lane where I'm putting the Odin just to make sure I go tall enough here and only buff one of them over here? It's a weird, like, she's a very like interesting evolving puzzle each game. And I find her fun in that sense. But as far as what her ability is in the decks you play, I don't find them particularly fun. It's weird. Like, I know I'm sounding contradictory because I'm saying I don't find the decks fun. I get what you're saying. I find the puzzle that she presents each game to be fun. It's a lot of lines.
Yeah, so like my thing is, and it's surprising that I just love Bounce so much, is like, it's very rare that I'll find like complex decks fun, just because there's a lot of times when I'm like, just my girlfriend and I and my son, like, we love like binging shows and shit like that, right? So I'm like playing Marvel Snap like passively, like while we're just hanging out watching stuff, you know. So like if I have to really like look at it and say, okay, move this here, move that there, you know, that's why even though they're changing Werewolf, I might not play him as much, just because I really have to stare at it. Like, you know what I realized? The only time I ever play Marvel Snap on my computer anymore is literally when I'm recording a video. So that's like, and I play maybe 3 to 5 games. So first off, Untap's not getting my data that much, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm just not, it's very slim that I'm like super concentrated on the game, you know? But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Namora. Like now, and I always recommend this to everybody, like there's no reason to get the new card the first day. You have 6 days. You have 7 days if we're being literal about it. Watch streams. Brad's streaming all the time. Watch streams, watch videos, see if it's something that you want to play with. You know what I mean?
And a lot of people in my chat today were like, it doesn't really look that fun to me. I'm like, yeah, then don't get her. If she doesn't scratch the itch for you, then don't get her. On top of the weak, I don't find very interesting. Oddly enough, Black Knight is a card I want to like try again, because like I've seen Black Knight fall off so hard, and everyone's just like, oh, just do Black Knight Hela. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to go back to the Black Knight Sarah list.
I am. That's a good one. I'm telling you, dude. I am telling you. I think the biggest mistake people make is not revisiting old decks that are just completely viable, right? And I get it. It's because they're releasing so many new cards. I have a deck that is still in my deck lists that is still there. It is a Black Knight War Machine deck. I bust it out every now and then and just wreck people. Right? Yep. Just doing some crazy, I think it might have Pixie too, but I'm doing like some crazy Infinite Ebony Moss shit, you know what I mean? And like, and then Black Knight 2 having like a 20 power sword and just doing weird stuff like that. Like, man, like I'm telling you guys, revisit some old decks. There are like decks that didn't get nerfed. There are decks that didn't become like not viable anymore because of new cards or changes that you just need to revisit. I before I delete any deck out of my game, I go here to Untapped, not sponsored, but I go into Untapped and I save it. I save the deck just so if I get bored or if I'm just like kind of just curious, like if there's like some kind of thing going on, like in the meta. I just go and revisit. I'm like, oh, this deck could be pretty good. You know what I mean?
Right. I was trying to find my list, see if it was like in here, but it's not for some reason. Oh, I can do last 30 days. It should be in there now. Yes, this is my list. Cool. So I don't have premium right now, so sorry, can't see the win rate for it. But I play a lot of games with it. I'm pretty sure these are all me, by the way. I wanted to show you like a deck that I was like messing with. I call it Hellfire. It's got Black Bolt Stature, and it's very simple. The main objective is to be able to, on turn 7 with Magic, play Infinite plus a 1-drop. We have 3 of them. We don't count Nightcrawler.
Oh, yeah.
You have Ebony Maw as a 1/7. You have Stature as a 1/7, and you have Miles as a 1/5. That is like why they're there. I ended up cutting the Angela. What did I cut her for, though? I don't remember what I cut her for, to be honest. I know I cut her, though. She ended up just being kind of mid. I think I might have put another move card or something. I don't really recall. Anyway, this list has been awesome for me. This is the one that I've been going back to. Like I find it to be interesting. War Machine on 6 plus like a. I was playing Silk Interplace for Angela. Silk, because then you can go like on that lets you have better 2-drops on 6 with a War Machine. So you go Black Bolt on 5, like you go like Magic on 3, Black Bolt on 5, whatever is on 4, right? And then on 6 you go War Machine plus a 2-drop, so it's either Silk, White Widow, or Jeff, which is fantastic. And then on turn 7 you just go Infinite plus either Ebony, Stature, or Miles. And then if the Ebony's already down, you can play back into the Ebony lane with these things as well. So the deck feels great. I love it. That's like the thing I've been working on the most.
I'm shocked that more people don't play War Machine. Like I'm one of those people too, but I'm just like, I'm baffled. I'm baffled. Like
sometimes you just go against Professor X. You're like, cool.
Yeah, right. And you got an Infinite just
sick.
chilling in your deck, and it's just like shit. But anyways, people, go revisit your old decks. Maybe I'll do a series. Those would be fun YouTube videos, revisiting this deck, seeing how it works in the current meta.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I'll probably not tomorrow, maybe Thursday, with the OTA. I'll try to revisit some Black Knight, but it's hard to shoehorn Black Knight in when all those cards are changing. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But yeah, I got nothing else for you, Chris.
You want to save the new cards? You want to save those?
Oh yeah, I guess. I mean, it's up to you. We're at an hour. What do you want?
We're at an hour. I don't know. What do the people want?
I mean, if we save them, that'll put us right at the new season, right? The week of the new season.
Yeah.
Which gives us like a full review of the new season for that.
I like that idea. You guys will have to wait until to get our opinions, and maybe we'll have updates on them.
We have next week is
Sasquatch.
Yeah, that's the last one of the month, right? Yeah, Sasquatch.
Yeah, Sasquatch.
And then a week after next would be, the first week of
the Eternal season
of the new season. So then we can talk about our experience with Thena and all that stuff, and then start for the rest of us. And then we could even go into the month after. Have a big old month of like new stuff, because we can talk about Hydra Bob, Ajax, Arsham, all that good stuff.
I like it.
All right. Well, we love you. We appreciate you. Our faces shine on you and are gracious to you. May us look on you in favor and give you our peace while you give us your thanks. Go sub, like the video, comment down below what you think about the OTA and all that good stuff. And we will see you guys in 2 to 3 weeks. Bye-bye.
2 weeks. Bye.
2 weeks. You never know.
We'll surprise them.